The Labour policy of applying VAT to private school fees presents significant economic and educational, I think moral, implications that extend far beyond the immediate fiscal calculations. First of all, this is the first time VAT will be applied to education, and it sets a precedent. That, I think, is the most serious issue. Then there's the issue that it is a very untargeted tax, a very untargeted punishment that is going to have the most alarming repercussions, particularly for those parents who have put children in private education because the state education in their area lacks the facilities to educate their children properly, particularly children who are on the SEND spectrum and who have found solace and hope in the facilities of the private schools, who have parents who have scrimped and saved for this opportunity because they don't have the money to move house like a champagne socialist. The Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, has said that this measure will push an estimated 35,000 students out of private schools, leading to a net cost for the Treasury of 300 million because of the migration of pupils from the private to the state sector. This displacement, comprising 6% of the private school population, aligns with predictions made by the Institute of Fiscal Studies, which anticipated a movement between 3 to 6%. It's going to be at the higher end of that. I think that's a low estimate. Stakeholders such as the Independent Schools Council argue that this underestimate is a true scale of the disruption. The OBR's analysis shows that parents will bear the brunt of the VAT imposition, with approximately two-thirds of the 15.4% effective VAT rate being passed on through fee increases. This is expected to result in an average 10% rise in tuition fees, adding substantial financial pressure on families. Meanwhile, a quarter of the VAT's impact will manifest through reduced service provision, and a minimal 1.3% will be absorbed by the schools themselves, potentially through cost efficiencies or diminished profits. The most concerning aspect of this policy is the disruption it brings, particularly to pupils with special educational needs and disabilities. And the government has acknowledged that the policy could displace SEND students, creating a significant administrative and emotional burden for parents who may need to seek new schools or engage with the Education, Health and Care Plan EHCP process, which can take 2 years. Such disruptions can be especially damaging if they occur during critical educational phases like GCSEs or A-levels, and of course the government's VAT increase is imposed in the middle of an academic year. Critics argue that the government's assessment of the disruption as affecting only a small minority of pupils fails to capture the real impact of the individuals concerned. Maxwell Marlowe of the Adam Smith Institute emphasizes the potential risk of increased pressure on state schools, reduced opportunities for underprivileged students, cautioning that the policy may ultimately fail to generate any anticipated revenue. And even beyond that, this fantasy that it's going to produce more teachers in classrooms. How? Do they exist? Where are they? Is this an advertising campaign that Labour is going to wheel out? You don't need an advertising campaign for people to know that schools are in dire need of new teachers. It's not encouraging the new teachers to embark on courses. It's encouraging the new teachers to remain in position once they've been appointed. That's more than an education advert. That's about changing the nature of teaching in our secondary schools and primary schools. And the educational consultant Neil Roskilly points out that the challenges schools face in adapting to the policy's accelerated implementation timeline Originally set for September 2025, the VAT's introduction has been expedited, leaving schools scrambling to update billing systems, inform parents, register for VAT. Institutions with significant capital investments may mitigate the impact by reclaiming VAT on certain expenses, but such options are not universal. This could lead to fee increases as high as 20% at prestigious, oversubscribed schools, further exacerbating inequality in educational access. From a fiscal perspective, the OBR forecasts that the VAT policy could initially bring in £460 million in 2025 to 2026, scaling up to £1.7 billion by 2029 to 30. However, this income comes at the cost of additional expenditure, with the state needing to absorb at least £300 million for the education of displaced pupils, based on the per-student cost of £7,690 in England. The policy's repercussions extend beyond the realm of work-life balance, as parents may be compelled to increase working hours to afford higher fees, potentially impacting family and personal well-being. The government's assertion that such moves will generally occur at natural transition points may not hold in practice, especially for those navigating the specific needs of SEND education. Labour's broader strategy seeks to channel the revenue from this VAT policy back into state education, with Chancellor Rachel Reeves announcing a £2.3 billion increase in the core schools budget for the following year. This fund is intended to support the hiring of additional teachers in key subjects, and a £1 billion allocation for reforming the SEND system, aiming at enhancing outcomes and ensuring financial sustainability. Yet the question remains whether these long-term benefits can truly offset the immediate educational disruption and the economic strain on affected families. The Independent Schools Council concerns that they've raised highlight the broader implications that tens of thousands of families are poised to face sudden and unexpected upheaval. It doesn't matter whether it was in the manifesto. It wasn't certain that the Labour Party was going to get elected, number one. Number two, it was in the manifesto quite late, and the details of what this means were uncertain. The timing was certainly not upfront, and the nature of private education in the UK may have to shift significantly to accommodate this monumental change. The VAT measure could mark a pivotal moment, reshaping the education landscape in ways that challenge both government forecasts and public expectations. And while the intention is to equalise educational opportunities and fund public, that is, state school improvements, the path to achieving this balance is laden with complexity, with additional costs and potentially unintended consequences.